All right, let's get started. Please, if y'all can, sign into the notes document. Appreciate that. Could I start by getting a designated note taker for today?
I'm happy to do it.
I'd appreciate that very much. Next up, do we have any new faces? Anyone new to this meeting? All right. Next up, we have go into outstanding RFCs. Oh, sorry. I'm go on one vacation. I'm a little rusty. Forget how to do everything. All right. Let's start from the bottom, work our way up. Propose that we remove YJ from the binary stack. This does not appear to have been commented on at all. I believe that we wanted to keep it open maybe one more week, and then if we don't get a response from this concerned community member, then we just go forward with it if the stacks team approves it. All right. I don't think, does anyone have any other comments on this? Awesome. Next up, we have decoupled dependencies from Buildpacks. I was out last week. I did not have a lot of time to go over developments on this. My plan is to get into this afternoon, hopefully, and make some edits and update some stuff, but it doesn't look like really much new conversation as of last week has happened. Seems like things are slowing down. So I will go over and try and answer as many of these as I can, and then I might open it up and start asking for reviews from basically all the other maintainer teams.
I also still need to take some time, maybe this week, to go over it more holistically. Like last time, I just went through section by section and just dropped in some comments.
Gotcha. In that case, then we can come back to this next week when hopefully it's a bit more updated. I just haven't had the time yet. Any other questions on this? All right. Next up, we have proposal to publish multi-arch build packs. I don't think that Jericho is here. I'm not super familiar on any of the work that's been happening. Seems that Jericho is switching how he is contributing this, so I don't know the status of that. I don't think that there have been any big updates on this either. It looks like it's kind of just been a little quiet for 2 weeks. Are there any questions? Okay. Next up, we have add bionic end of support RFC. I think that this just needs to have a bunch of maintainers look at it. It appears that it just needs to be approved by a large group of people. The end of service date for Bionic is coming up at the end of this month. I think it is the 31st of May. So if we can get people to start taking a look at this and put approvals on it, would appreciate that. Awesome. Moving on at a clip. And then the final one is RFC for Chamaad build pack. Anthony, I think that you are here. You have any comments on this?
Yeah, so there are a few comments, so following the last working group meeting, there were a few comments, passionate comments. I still think that from the look of it, we could make it work. So I need to address all comments. There are some suggestions. So rephrase few things and make it. I believe that was the main issue. Make it super clear that it's optional. It cannot be activated by default in no circumstances. So making sure that people could not use that accidentally. So I think that would solve most of the issues that were raised. Ozzy, you would tell me if I were wrong, assuming that. But,
yeah, I mean, I've had some time to think since last week, and you do need to be able to do this stuff. I still don't like it, but I acknowledge that it needs to happen. My one request would be to make sure that the RFC itself actually contains a warning about the damage that could be done with it, because
Yes.
the RFC is going to stand as the documentation moving forwards for this. The evidence of where it was. So providing there's like a big box in there that says, please don't chmod everything with +X because it fixed your problem, then that would be really good. Because I think that's the key part in this is we've got to avoid the situations where it's going to be used by people who don't realize the damage that would do. And we can only solve that through education.
yes,
Cool. No worries other than that from me.
perfect. So yeah, hopefully last week then should be ready to go. I mean, next meeting, sorry.
Great. In that case, then we've kind of sped our way through all of these RFCs. I went pretty quickly. Is there any comments that people would like to make on them, or any questions that people would like to have on any of these RFCs as they stand right now? All right. In that case, then I will not belabor the point. CNB updates and questions. I have been out, so do not have any CNB updates personally. Are there any in the ether that should be brought here?
I have a minor one that's probably not too important to most people. The extension TOML schema didn't mention the fact of whether we could include metadata on the end. I've discussed that with Natalie, and she's agreed that that's probably an oversight, and we'll just PR that in. So that will make, I think, at least me and Michael breathe a little easier.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And in a similar note, I've been chatting with Daniel about libcmb and updating that to include support for extensions, which is needed because I'm blocked on the Java extension to be able to be built, because the Java Paketo Buildpacks use Octo, also known as Pipeline Builder, to generate all the pipelines. And Octo is based on libcmb. So at the moment, I can't run that against a project that's based around extensions, because the very first thing it does is looks for buildpack.toml to read all the information it needs. Where I could hack that and tell it to go look for extension toml as a backup, then you very quickly start running into problems that you've got the wrong data in the wrong struct being passed to the right methods, and that's not fun either. So, long story short, we're going to try and address that upstream and get libcmb to have some support in it, and spike Octo to run against the newer version of libcmb.
Awesome. The only other thing I can think of, and it may have been brought up last week, is that the extensions work has actually landed as well. I think that was something they were pushing for KubeCon, and they got it out like the day they were giving the presentation on it. So yeah, I think that's out. Project updates. The only project update is I believe that we have some of the election stuff for Paketo through the CFF finalized. I need to have a conversation with Dan because a lot of that happened like Thursday of last week, I think. So I need to have a conversation with Dan about the actual process. I think it will be announced later this week. And the nomination process will begin. Some of it, I think, has been laid out in the CFF community or Cloud Foundry community already, but I will get actual links with actual wording from people that know what they're actually talking about, and I will post those probably in just like general for the Paketo Slack, and I'll probably also duplicate that post into core dev as well. I'm trying to get some time with Dan to figure that out. Any other project updates that people would like to talk about? No. All right. Finally, we have open mic questions / discussion topics. And the first one in here is, where are the Paketo P URLs coming from? Pearls, PURLs? I never actually figured out what you're supposed to call them.
I don't either. I just figured that probably it's going to be the URL thing and then just wrap some lowercase letters around it. I'm not sure how it has to be written. Like the entries from my side, we realized lately with the tool that was integrating with SBOMs that some of the things, like some of vulnerabilities, weren't detected based on these SBOMs. And then we looked at it a little closer, and it would turned out like the P URLs that were only used, like they were not using the CPEs for detecting things, because OSVDef was used for finding them, and with the P URLs nothing was detected, which like I don't really wonder about. Like it's really just, it looks like invented by Paketo just to provide a value there, and if it wouldn't be required, like it's just a question if it would be better to provide SBOMs only containing CPEs and no made up P URLs.
Yeah,
because like nobody, like just one example, there's a package generic submachine something, nobody will report vulnerabilities for that.
Yeah,
so it's like you won't find anything with it.
Yeah,
and similarly for Tomcat, for Node, for others, I'm pretty sure you just won't find any vulnerabilities with it, and then the information is kind of, it's useless, and it's even dangerous because you might believe that something is good, right? I mean, whatever tooling we use, I don't know if it would have, but it might have actually indicated that it can't find anything because we don't provide P URLs, right? That would be the better message.
That's good feedback. I think that currently we try and generate the best PURLs that we can by hand, because when we were first looking to implement this, there was no tooling for just like, or even database for like, given a package, how would you actually prescribe that package in any meaningful way, like a CPE, right? And so we kind of reached out at some points to the PURL consortium and asked them like explained our thing and asked like, hey, like these are the kind of packages that we're doing, this is how we're installing these things, and they gave us some advice on how we might want to do that. And then I haven't really done any further investigation on whether or not they've built out a database or not. I think that go ahead.
I hadn't looked too deeply into it, but it's like maybe there's no real good answer, right? Like, for example, you can find vulnerabilities for Tomcat in OSVDef if you accept the fact that this is handled as a Maven package, but like it's not, right? It's not a Maven dependency either. So I don't know if there's really good P URLs or if that's just a project in its infancy, or like maybe mature infancy. I think it's older. I don't know, but I think, yeah, it might be worth a thought.
I think it's something that we could definitely talk about and look back at. I think it would be a difficult thing for us to, I think we'd have to come up with a full RFC ruling on it. We'd have to basically say like, in the case where like with Tomcat, we could theoretically construct some seemingly meaningful, in the same way that we do with CPEs, right? Like you have to construct a CPE by like going to NIST and being like, oh, every time they report a Golang, it has this, you know, query string, right? And then getting more or less specific. So maybe looking like, unless we can discover that there is a certified query string for PURLs like through Maven talking about Tomcat, then maybe we don't add it. And Therefore, the only ones that we can do are the validly buildable ones.
Is like actually thinking about who is the provider of those is the most interesting question. You won't find any Perl on NIST, for example. Right? They just don't have any. They only track CPEs, as far as I've seen. So I don't know. Like you would need to choose, right? And NIST is a good choice, I guess, as a default for we take the vulnerabilities from there. But yeah, anyway, I agree that this definitely would need an RFC if we would want to change anything there.
And what about Apache? So since you were talking about Apache Tomcat as an example, so I can see that we're downloading it from. We're not downloading the archive, the dependency. Well, the Tomcat archive from Maven Central, right? We downloaded from archive.apache.org. So in an ideal world, shouldn't they also generate the PURL themselves? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I think that would be best, right? If the package providers would actually tell what they should be called, because they will hopefully have a security response process that will funnel whatever comes up into already also making sure that these assignments are set correctly. But I think that's the ideal world we're talking about and not the one we live in.
Yeah, I think that that's the idea around PRLs. And to be fair, I think when like Sophie and I were originally doing a large chunk of sort of initializing the SBOM work, we kind of tried to cover as many of our bases as possible and said, well, we'll wait until users come back and say anything about any of these. And you are currently the first person to bring up a problem with us hand making PRL. So maybe that is an indication that we should take it seriously.
Yeah, sounds fair. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions or open discussions? All right. Well, I don't want to keep anyone here longer than they absolutely have to be. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.